You're listening to the Blue Raider Podcast, your number one resource for all the latest news, updates, and game recaps from Middle Tennessee athletics. Join us every Tuesday for our weekly interviews with players, coaches, and local media personalities alike. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe on all our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Twitter, and TikTok at Blue Raider Pod. If you're currently listening on your favorite streaming service, we also offer a visual presentation on YouTube at Blue Raider Podcast. Lastly, I'd love to hear your feedback, so don't forget to subscribe to GoMiddle.com to discuss this week's episodes along with the latest news and updates around Middle Tennessee. Welcome into the Blue Raider Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Bolden, and today is the second installment of our 2024 Summer Series. Our episode today features our highly successful Lady Raiders basketball program coming fresh off of a 19-0 CUSA season and a memorable trip to the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament with some might say upset victory over Louisville. I'm not one of those people, but there's no one better to talk about the success of the Lady Raiders program than associate head coach Matt Insell. Matt, how's it going?
It's going really good. Just ready to get all the girls back on campus here this week and start workouts with next year's team.
Excellent, Coach. And for you, it's been a really busy spring, not only with the season coming to an end there in March, but I know you've been hot on the trail as far as the transfer portal and high school signings. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's really slowed down for you since it ended in March.
It hasn't. And, that's one of the things that I guess we do a little different. We don't want to rely solely on the transfer portal. We want to be able to get really good high school players, and particularly the best players from our state and the surrounding states that we can get, and kind of bring them together, and then use the transfer portal and as a situation of places where there's a need, and not just to put 9 or 10 of them on the same roster. We want to be able to use it as need base. And we were able to go into the portal, and we needed to get a point guard, and we got that. We needed to get a 4 player. We got that. We need another perimeter player. We got that. So we feel really, really good about the transfer portal, and also really good about our start in 2025 when it comes to recruiting. And then in 2024, being able to get Savannah Davis early was huge, a great shooter. And so we feel real good about the pieces that we're adding to our roster for next season.
Where do you kind of find that balance? Because today's game is really weird. And one thing that you and Rick do excellent is the retention aspect of it. And you touched on getting those 3 commits out of the 25 class. Some teams, especially the larger schools, may be scared to sign that many freshmen in the fear that you may potentially lose them. So how do you find that balance?
I mean, you just the biggest thing, like we've got, 3 committed right now. We would like to get maybe 2 more, maybe 3 more. And try to get them in here and helping them understand that it is going to be a process. Tamia Scott was one of them. She did not play a lot as a freshman. And then as she got going and had 2 summers under her belt, you saw the growth that she made and how much she grew as a player inside our system and inside our program. And then you saw her game really take off the following year. And we sit down and we talk to them about that when we're recruiting them, that what does success look like for you? Is it a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year? We don't know that. You'll determine that. But if you're good enough to play as a freshman, you will play. But if you're not, that doesn't mean you're a bad player. We're going to keep working with you, and we're going to keep getting better. And it may be your sophomore year, maybe your junior year, whenever it's your time. But we feel really good about where we're at with 2025. We felt really good about our 2024. We only signed 1 player early in 2024 because we only had 2 scholarships. And when you first looked at your roster, and we knew what Savannah Davis could do, and we were really, really excited about her. But we knew in our mind that there was going to be a possibility of plugging in some transfer portal players, and we felt like that would happen. And we've been very fortunate with the 3 that we got to add to that. And then, I know there's a lot of questions out there about we do have 1 scholarship still available. We really don't. We signed a 6'3", 6'4" player from Serbia, and she'll be here. She's playing with our national team, and so she won't be here until August. But we'll be releasing that anytime now. She's already signed, so I can talk about her. We just haven't officially released it out there yet because there's still some hurdles she's got to jump through to be able to get here in terms of being an international student athlete coming into America.
And to keep on the same trail here, talking about this upcoming 24-25 season, I think one thing
Yep.
that a lot of us on the forums have been kind of speculating about is one thing that I know MTSU does a lot of is they play a select few. You know, the best player
Yeah.
plays, and they get a lot of volume minutes. As talented as this team is on paper, I find it hard to believe if you're capable of doing just 6 to 7 players. I feel like you've got such a deep bench now, something that has been quite a luxury for you from years past. Is that kind of something that we could expect to see higher volume minutes from more players?
Yeah, I mean I think a lot gets talked about how many players we play and playing the 5 or 6 and all of that. It really is team by team. And when we get into it, we didn't go into last season thinking that we were going to play 6. We were hoping to play 8, 9, 10, whatever it shall be. It just didn't work out that way. And the schedule we play, we don't have the luxury where it's frustrating from time to time because teams in our league have played Division twos and Division threes and NAIA schools, and they're playing them and trying to pad a record and things like that. When we go out and play, when we played Tennessee, we felt like there was 6, maybe 7 players on our roster that could help us win that game, and so we had to go into that game to try to figure out how to win that game. The same thing goes to Louisville and things like that. Gracie Dodge and Gracie Hamby both had injuries they were coming off of. We were expecting them to be able to give us some minutes, but with the injury factor with them, they were not able to. Sifa Neza just wasn't ready. I mean, she was a good player, great person, and she's moved on to another school now, and I wish her all the best of luck. But she just wasn't ready for our system. We didn't have her all summer. She was playing with her national team, and so she just wasn't ready. And so last year's team, it kind of got down to that. And Jada Granum is somebody that really, if she was kind of in a stacked position there with 3 really good big post players there, and now next year, I think she's going to have a major role because I think she'll settle in there in that post position with Nastia, and I think with Alina coming in, she'll settle in that area as well. And so I think we feel very confident that we'll be able to play 9 or 10, if not 11 or 12. I mean, we want to be able to play as many of them that earn that. And we tell them this is when you earn our trust, you'll get on the court. And how do you earn our trust? You get in the gym, you work on your shooting, you work on your game, you get in there in individual workouts, and every single day when we start up this coming Tuesday, every single day we're evaluating every shot they take, every defensive move they make, every offensive traction, everything they do on the court. We're tracking that. We're tracking their times whenever they're in the conditioning. We're tracking their numbers and weights, and we're telling them that everything that we do, that's how you're earning that trust to get on the floor right away. And so we feel like on paper, next season we're more talented than we were a year ago. There's no doubt about that. Can that team come together and do what last year's team did or the year before's team did? We don't know. Like, that'll be something that we're working towards, and we'll talk to them about every single day. But on paper, we've got some options, and we've got some players that can really make some plays and do some different things, and we'll be able to do some different stuff offensively. We've lost 2 great players in Savannah Wheeler and Courtney Whitson, but we feel very good about where we're at right now in those positions. And the one thing that we want to make sure of is where's that leadership going to come from? Courtney Whitson was one of those players that she never let you have a bad practice because she always practiced with great energy, great enthusiasm. She was great talking to the other players. Who's going to be that person is something that to make sure that you don't have bad practices. And so it's we feel really good about where we're at. And we were just at the conference meetings, and my wife and I were sitting down at the beach, and another coach's wife in the conference was actually sitting down beside us. And she said, "How do y'all feel? You seem like y'all feel pretty good about next year's team." We said, "We feel a little bit better, really good. We think we're better." And she just kind of looked at me with a stunned face, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, we did beat all of y'all by an average of 26 last year, so you better be better yourself, or we're gonna beat you by 30 next year." So. It's what I wanted to say, but I didn't.
Well, you
So,
led me in my next question because I keep telling everyone that asks me about this roster is I've watched a lot of Lady Raider basketball. This has to be the most talented team you've ever had, and I think objectively, you look back at maybe where did you fall in the LSU game, and I think height may be an area that you might address, and it looks like you have
yeah.
with someone like Alina who has the talent to be not only a great defensive player as we've seen in years past, but she has the ability to score the ball. But I'm interested too, and you touched on it there with missing Whitson now and her leadership capabilities subjectively. What are kind of some things that you think that this team needs to do to no longer, I mean, you've already dominated Conference USA. So what does it take to not only get to the, say, a Sweet 16 berth, but to be in that conversation for a host school when the NCAA tournament comes back around?
Number one is we can't have slip ups. I thought last year we and all credit to both teams. I thought Belmont and Grand Canyon both beat us on their home floors, and there were two losses that we did not need to have. And if we go into the NCAA tournament with the Michigan loss and the Princeton loss, and then it's a little different conversation about your seeding and things like that. Um, but I think that you hit on it right there. Our depth is better. Our size is better. Our is something that obviously is important. Courtney was a great rebounder, but Alina brings more size. Jada Granum in there brings more size. I think yes, Mush is getting better. Mason is getting better there with her size, and you got we had a kid sitting out last year that nobody's really talking about that we redshirted, and Stacy Stanzlova, the other girl from Russia. Very talented, very, very talented. Reminds us a lot of Ksenia Malaska. And so she's about 6'1", 6'2", that can play the 3 or the 4. That we're excited about her. And so our depth, our size is important. Winning those games, not having slip ups. Boy, I'd like to have the Princeton game back. When you got that lead against them, that could have been a great game. And the way the schedule sets this year is we've got a chance late in December to get some net wins with a Princeton game right before we start conference play. We're going to play them right before conference play at the end of December, and then we got a couple other games in there that we can get some net wins, and not just early November getting those wins. We got a chance spread out through our schedule. Maybe probably the toughest schedule that we played in years. And so if we can come through that and win, come through that, and you've got 2 or 3 losses, now you're setting it like a Gonzaga was with an opportunity to host if you take care of business in your conference.
How do you address that with the girls? Because obviously, when you come to MTSU, you understand that we're Conference USA, we're taking care of business there. How do we address with the players? What is it going to take to get us to that next level? And you kind of talk about it with that schedule, and you can get wide eyes like that. But I think you and Rick have this expectation that you come to middle, you're going to be a winner. We need to win these ball games. How is that something that you discuss with the girls?
One of the things is we never discuss. We have yet to discuss winning a conference championship. Now we enjoy winning a conference championship. We like winning it. We enjoyed going undefeated and doing all those things and winning it and cutting down the nets. We enjoy that, but that's not our ultimate goal. That is an expectation inside the program that we're just supposed to win it. Now the goal is how can we get to the Sweet 16, Elite 8? Last summer it was all about is how can we get back to that Colorado game and win that game. This summer is going to be how can we get back to the LSU game and win that game. And we'll watch film on what happened in the second half, whether it be some physicality stuff, whether it be some rebounding or some transition stuff, or whatever it shall be, some misexecutions. We'll watch film on that to make sure that we don't make those same mistakes again. The same thing we did against after the Colorado game is when we got back into the summer, we tried to break that down on where we were at there. But we'll talk a lot about Sweet 16, Elite 8, even a Final Four. We'll talk about those things. And if we can stay healthy, there's the possibility of a lot of things. And it's all about your draw. We had a good draw this year with Louisville, just from knowing them. And Jeff does a great job, but our players were confident knowing that they could beat them. And then you hit an LSU, which, again, a very, very good team, very well coached team. But, you'd like to have this player, that play back in that game that I think could – every game has a turn in it. And, when you watch that game, there was a turn there where if we make this shot, then this don't happen, and then all of a sudden we've got a 13 or 14 point lead, and now they're upset with each other. Maybe we can pull through and win that game. But making sure that next year we get to that spot, that when we get to making sure those turns stay in our favor is important. But putting them out there in the schedule it's very important. And our schedule this year, and I can hit on it with you, and we haven't released it yet, but we'll have a game obviously against Tennessee again. We'll play. We got neutral site games against 3 teams, and they'll be coming out soon. And one's Iowa State, one's Purdue, one's UCLA, and so we've got some good opportunities in there where against some very good teams that you got a chance now to get some resume building wins. And even if you got those, let's just talk about those 4 games. We're not talking about a Princeton and some of those, but in those 4 games, if you can somehow go 3-1 or 2-2, or if you go 4-0, now it's you're talking a chance to host. You're talking a chance to be ranked in the top 15 or 16 in the nation. And it is. I say this all the time: men's basketball, and women's basketball are a little different because the non-power 4 schools get more credit in men's basketball than they do in women's basketball. Mm-hmm. And where everybody walks around here and say, well, I'm in a power 5, I'm in a power 5. Outside of power 4 now, outside of maybe the top 6 or 7 in those leagues, the rest of those teams aren't any good. Mm-hmm. And I tell recruits this all the time, is don't go to that school because their conference they're in, because that program doesn't play at the same level as a Middle Tennessee or a South Florida or a Gonzaga or a Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, we play at the level that those 5 or 6 play at, where a lot of those teams in that league don't play at that level, but they want to say they do. And then they get all these recruits in there and all this stuff. And, it is what it is. But we'll keep recruiting these little girls that can really shoot it and that can rebound and can defend and that everybody don't think is good enough. And we'll keep winning those games year in and year out.
Yeah, but you seem to do pretty well for yourself. You definitely can't complain about the talent you bring in, and you got girls like you already mentioned to me, and when we know the type of player that Jalynn is. But the one addition that I really want to talk about is Courtney Blakely. Not only, one, how did you get her back in, but 2, one thing I think it's interesting about her, I just want to kind of hear you expand upon it, is her play style is not the same as Savannah Wheeler. We know she's not necessarily the scorer that Wheeler was, but one thing I think that draws a similarity when you watch her on film is the speed that she likes to play with. I know that you like to get that ball out to Savannah and run the floor. Courtney can do that at probably 2 times the speed that Savannah was. So that's something that's really interesting about how you can still transition that play style that you're comfortable with last year, where it's kind of a run and gun, run the floor. If you got the layup available, we'll kick it out to a 3. I still think that that's something that from my viewpoint, that is a lot of similarities that's going to transfer well with her returning.
It is. I mean, first off, is when she left, it was not a bad breakup at all. Mm-hmm. And she was somebody that we were real close with as a staff, and we got along with Courtney really well, and she loved it here. And she just felt like she wanted something different. She wanted to take an opportunity and see if she could go and play at wherever it shall be in the Power 4. And she went to Arizona and played well out there. And she has no ill will towards them at all. It just wasn't the fit that she had here. And she really liked it here. She liked her teammates. She liked her staff. And when she went in the portal, it was, I reached out to her the second she went in. And I was at a Sapphire Club event for Middle Tennessee's donors. And Kim Bruton calls me and says, hey, Courtney Blakely just went in the portal. And that I reached out to her and said, hey, we want you to come home. She said, I want to come home. And it was right away. We started talking about what next year's team looked like, and she was all about it. And she'd been watching us, and she was excited about the opportunity and to come back and play. And if you go back the year before, our biggest win the year before was Louisville, and at home. And she started at point guard for that game. And Lexus Whittington was hurt, so Savannah had moved over to the wing. And you go fast forward a week later against Houston, she started at the point guard for us because Alexis was still out. Then when we got into conference play, Savannah gets hurt against Charlotte the first game and wasn't able to play in the first 5 games, I believe, that year of conference play. Courtney Blakely started all those games at the point guard for us. And so, and then you go fast forward on down through there, Courtney Whitson gets hurt. So Courtney Blakely comes in and starts. But again, we move Savannah to the wing and move Alexis Whittington to the 4, and we played Western at home, and Courtney started again in that game. So she started in a lot of big games for us, and she knows our system. She knows how. While we were in on 2 or 3 point guards and had really good conversations with them and had a lot of good dialogue and they was about to make some decisions. The day that she went in that week, they were close to making decisions on what they were going to do. And Courtney, we got on the phone with her, and it was like, okay, we got to bring her back. She knows how we practice. She knows what we do offensively. She knows what we do defensively. She knows how we travel. She knows everything about our program. She knows where they live on campus. She knows where they eat at. So it's you're basically bringing someone in that's been here for 2 years, obviously, that knows your system, that knows what you do, knows how you handle things, and you're not having to reteach somebody. And so, having her coming in, it's been a joy to have her back. I think she's going to be great for Jada Harrison. That's something that we talked a lot about with when Courtney Blakely come in. She had Dorsar here, and Dor was great teaching her and showing her the ropes of college basketball and the ins and outs of it, and was really good role model for Cab, where I think that Cab can be a great role model for Jada Harrison, because you got Jada Harrison sitting there. It's coming off an injury. That's she's trying to get herself back healthy, and she will be healthy. But you also don't want to press on that injury too much because she's got a longevity, and so having her here, Cab here, to really help that transition with her is going to be huge. And then Cab will be right there, and then Jada Harrison is going to be a special player as well. So we're real excited about where we're at there at that position.
And talk about
Savannah Davis can move over there and play as well. There's no doubt about it that she can play. So when a lot of people talk about replacing Savannah Wheeler, obviously Savannah Wheeler was a great player, and we will miss Savannah Wheeler, but we feel real good about how we have revamped that position. We're very confident in that position.
And you're pretty guard heavy. You got a lot of talent there, and that's why I say it's interesting to see where things fall when the season rolls around. And as you said, earning trust with those players. As far as the front court goes, and adding Alina Enrique, who was the 2023 Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Is this an acquisition that's been 2 years coming now?
It's an acquisition we've wanted for 2 years. I mean, we tried when she went in. When she went in the portal a year ago, we tried every way in the world to get her, and had great dialogue with her, and she decided she wanted to go to Texas Tech, and which, look, that's her decision, and we respected her decision. I told her when she called me and told me she was going to Texas Tech, I said, you'll probably be calling me back because I don't think you fit what they do, and I don't think they fit your game. And she's like, well, they said they're going to do this and that. And so she got there and she played. I think she played 18 minutes a game, somewhere in that area, and had success. But again, it didn't fit how she played. And it's not their fault. It's not her fault. It just, when a system has to fit, where like Ksenia Malaska went to VCU and VCU's a great program, but her game didn't fit how they played. She comes here and she becomes a WNBA draft pick. It's all about the system you play in. Well, we knew Alina's with way she played in her game fit how we play, and it fit our system really, really well. So we had a lot of confidence that by her coming here that she could do something special. And so she goes in the portal, goes to Texas Tech. Long story short, we play Louisville, and I get on the bus after the Louisville game, and I haven't paid much attention to anything besides everybody sending me videos of my daughter being on ESPN. And I get a text from a friend of mine in the business saying, hey, Alina has went in the portal again. I just saw it. Are you going to get her? And he's a coach of another school saying he was going to try to get her, but wanted to know if I was trying to get her because he knew I wanted a year before. And I said, absolutely. And on that bus ride from the arena to the hotel after beating Louisville in the NCAA tournament, I talked to her. My dad talked to her. Kim Bruton talked to her, Nina talked to her, and Tom Hodges. We all talked to her on that bus ride, and then got up there in the hotel, talked to her again. Dr. McPhee actually was at the hotel, and he spoke with her.
Wow.
And so it was kind of a good match. And about a week later, she came on an official visit and had 3 other officials scheduled, but she fell in love with it here and said, "This is where I'm going to be." And we're excited about her. She like you talked about her defense. She was defensive player of the year, but she kicked us every way you could kick us offensively, and we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't guard her, and we could guard any of them. We could guard anybody in our league, and we actually voted. I think we voted for her for Player of the Year that year in the league because we can't vote for our own players.
Mm-hmm.
And but she is a special talent that we're excited to have her. We're glad we're playing. She's on our team, and not we're having to play against her. We did not like playing against her too much.
Absolutely not. I can remember the game in Murphy Center where it just came down to three player action, those high
Yep.
screens with her, and it was nonstop. She's a great ball player, but man, did she drive me nuts having to watch that game with her. But it's exciting that she's on our side now. One thing I'm really interested to know, just to get a little bit more about the associate head coach, but more importantly, you're the son of the head coach. How does that dynamic work? And I think a lot of people will speculate that you're the next man in line. And forgive me if I'm stepping out of line with the question, but it's an interesting dynamic. I think it works great. People highlight it all the time, but where does that dynamic with you and your dad? And I know you've said this already this year. The job's not done for Rick. So how does that dynamic work for you two?
The thing that when I came back here, my first question to him is what's your goal? If your goals have changed and if you're satisfied with just winning the conference and doing all that stuff, then I probably need to go somewhere else because that's just not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, my objective is to steal Sweet 16, Elite Eights, Final Fours. I think we can do it. And so he and I talked about it. Do we agree on everything? Absolutely not. We'll argue over there a lot and just have different opinions on different things. But at the end of the day, when it's time to come together and say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we do. And, so it's a good dynamic. I am not, Dr. McPhee and Chris Massaro and I have talked about a lot about what the future looks like, and we're excited about what the future looks like with Dad here, with Dad's not here, whatever it shall be. I'm excited about the future of this program and where it's going, and I love it here, and my wife loves it here. We've had opportunities to leave and go back to the SEC or go here, and we go to the Big Ten. We've chosen not to do that because of the belief that we have in what this program is and what it's becoming. And we got, and so, from my dad's standpoint, how much longer he does it, that I tell him all the time, do it as long as you want to do it. And, as long as you're coming in office, you got energy and you can still do this thing, let's keep it rocking and rolling. And so at some point, me and him will talk and he'll make a decision on, what the future looks like. But I don't think he'll ever step away. I think he has a passion as well for some of this NIL stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something when he does decide to retire, that I think he wants to help with that. I think the collective with Jonathan McGuire and those guys are doing some really, really good stuff right now. And that's where it's going. At the end of the day, if we want to continue to do the things that we want to do and get the players that we need to get, we've got to get into the game on that. And whether it be in women's basketball, football, men's basketball, whatever it shall be, baseball, like it or not, these student athletes are getting paid. And we've been very fortunate to be able to do some things with our student athletes. We're excited about that. And we've had some supporters that have stepped up that's really made a big help with that. And I think Dad has a passion in that area because I think he believes that student athletes should get paid. I think he has a passion in that area that when he does decide to retire, that he'll stay around working in those areas. He better, because he's got to raise some money for us to be able to sign the players we want to sign. So.
Absolutely. And the Lady Raiders have done well. And I'm sure as you are, proud of the faithful that is Lady Raider basketball fans. They always show up and show out for you. That's got to mean something to those players too, being able to put 4,500, 5,000 people in the seats every night. And back to the recruiting aspect of it, that just doesn't happen. That doesn't even happen up the road at Memorial Gymnasium. That's special stuff you've got going on at Murphy Center.
It's probably why they won't play us. They don't want us to have more fans than that. Or the fact that we beat Vanderbilt 5 years in a row, or 5 times in a row. They probably don't like that either. But that's fine. Yeah, you're right. You're correct. You think about we go play at Western Kentucky last year, and I think we had probably 800, 900 people that came up for that game on a
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. And even the TV broadcaster talked about it. It's just a home game for Middle. They have more people here than Western, and on a national television game. And we go different places, and that happens. And you don't take that for granted. Our fans are the best in the country. And we are able to do the things we're able to do because of the support they give us, and we get recruits because of it, and we showcase that to them. And to be able to finish year in and year out in the top 25 in the nation in attendance, that's huge. And so, that's we can't do it without our fan support. Can't do it without the things that you guys do. I watch your podcast. I watch it. My dad watches it. My mom watches it. My wife watches it. I mean, we all listen to it, and because we're all diehard Middle Tennessee. I mean, we believe in this athletic department and this football program and what's going on right now with Derek Mason. It's an exciting time. I've spent a lot of time with Derek Mason Coach Mason over the last couple of weeks, and just he's got a big vision for what's going on. And I was out today at the football stadium and looking at what the project, the Bill Brew project, what they're building and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's really remarkable. And the vision that Dr. McPhee and Chris have for our athletic department is a lot bigger than what people think it is, and they're moving that vision forward, and that's exciting. And we couldn't have better leadership than those two guys.
Absolutely. Exciting times there in Murfreesboro, and myself am happy to be a very small part of that, and I appreciate the support, and I appreciate you
Yeah,
being a supporter of this show. And but before we sign off here, you talked about your youngest there, how she took over the March Madness
yeah.
by storm there. Can we expect some more, I should say, like showmanship from her, like we saw with the outfits rivaling Kim Mulkey there?
Yeah, that was an interesting thing because we didn't know anything about it. She just kind of did her regular thing, and our
Right.
fan base knows that she stretches with our girls. She does all of those things on an everyday basis with them, and does it in practice, things like that. So we get out there in the game, and she does it. ESPN highlights her, and so then that night we get back to the hotel, and my wife is getting all these direct messages from these boutiques down in Louisiana and all of these things wanting to outfit her for the next game and all this
Oh
stuff. And
wow.
we're like, well, she's just got a regular little basketball dress that she's wearing the next game. So then my dad, we got to start an Instagram account. Let's go ahead and get her NIL going. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're not doing that. And so we had to step her game up a little bit. But yes, she will. She loves to dress up, and she's very shy, but she was not that week. So she's excited, and she's a little ball player. She loves basketball. She last night, my son and her both. They're big. They love the game. They love sports, and before we go to bed every night, they both make 10 free throws on their go. So
Okay.
they're training, getting ready to go right now. So
Awesome stuff. It should be the youngest one to ever pull an NIL deal. That'd be pretty impressive.
yeah, we're going to sign her up right now. I think I can get somebody to sign her up right now. So.
Awesome stuff, Coach. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy summer to do this for me. And again, hopefully we'll talk soon about the upcoming season.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Joining us now is the 2024 Conference USA second team all-conference selection. She was fourth leading scorer for the Lady Raiders at 12 points per game and second in shooting percentage among starters at 44%. She is guard/wing from Clarksville, Tennessee. Entering her junior campaign this year, we have Tamia Scott. Tamia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks again for doing this. And Tamia, one thing I just kind of kick us off here. Tell me a little bit about your summer so far. What have you been doing since the season ended in March?
I've been with family a lot, just hanging out. I just got back home this past weekend. I started a summer class on the 20th, so I've been doing that. It's just Monday through Thursday, and then I'll go home on the weekend. But yeah, mainly just hanging out with friends, and then I was working out with my trainer Markway when I was home.
So are you back in Clarksville then when you say you're back home?
Oh, I'm in Murfreesboro right now, but back home is Clarksville, yeah.
Okay, so you doing the classes. I know that you're not the only player that's doing some summer classes. Tell me a little bit about that balance. Like, is that something that you kind of, is it necessary to do some summer classes to ease up the load in the winter?
Yeah, it's really tough for me because I'm an art major, so all my classes are hands-on and nobody else like really struggles with that. So it's just better for me to get this class out the way because during the season I won't have as much time to like be in class and just work on it. And I didn't mention, but the class is 6 hours long. It's 9 a.m. to 3:30.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, it's a long class. We just work on art all day. So it's better to do it now rather than the season because I need so much time during the season for myself.
Well, it's interesting that you've got like this sort of like hands-on and this long class in particular, especially during the summer. But I think it's interesting that you're willing to kind of put that effort into a class like that, because I know some athletes may opt for general studies just again to kind of ease the workload and put focus into basketball. But tell me a little bit where your passion for art may come from.
It came from like I've always been a really, really creative person, even when I was a kid. But I took a art class in high school my freshman year, and it was more so like graphics and stuff like that. And I really got into that, so that's what I wanted to do in college. I was thinking of taking a business route, but I wanted to do something more fun and like more me. And I knew it was going to be tough because it is so hands on and we're gone all the time. But I mean, it's something that I love to do. So right now, this class is like hands on stuff and actually painting. And I took a 3D class, which was like sculptures and stuff this past semester. But what I want to do is like more so graphic with Photoshop and Illustrator and things of that nature.
Very cool. And I think one thing that you kind of announced, this will come out in a few weeks, but we're talking about your art and kind of your style, and you like to be a creative. I know that you have a recent, what appears to be an NIL deal with a sort of like a custom sneaker. What's kind of that outfit you got going there?
Yeah, so I'm I'm also into fashion. I like to dress up and I have a lot of shoes and stuff. So I feel like that was the perfect deal for me. But he wanted me to just kind of spread his brand around. So he gave me some blue and white MTSU color sneakers for me to just promote. And I love stuff like that, like the sparkles and everything like that. They call me the Barbie at MT. So the sparkles just fit really good with me. And it was a fun project to do.
Before this, I had an interview with Matt, and so you talk about you style and things. Do you think there's any sort of like collaboration with you and his youngest daughter Evie anytime soon about because how she took the world by storm?
Yeah, that would be like matching jackets or something. That would be really, really cute. Maybe.
Well, to me, tell me a little bit about back to your game here. You took a big jump from the freshman to sophomore year. We all know the talent you had in high school. When you got here your freshman year, you sit behind Alexis Whittington, who I'm sure you learned plenty from and a lot of her experience. And you've kind of had the ability to sit behind players that have had a lot of playing time. But this year, we saw you explode on the scene. You're a superstar. I think second team was just by virtue of numbers. I think you're definitely a first team talent, and we know your time is coming. But tell me a little bit about that jump you made from freshman to sophomore.
I mean, I knew I had it in me all along. I just had to stay patient my freshman year. And I've always had a really, really hard work ethic, even through high school. Like, I would stay after practice and just train and stuff. So that transferred over to college, and I just kept working, like, throughout the season. Even after a game, after a game once, I went to the gym. It was an early game. But like when I wasn't playing, I was making sure that I was still, in the gym and just working on things that I wasn't able to do in practice because sometimes, we're just working on our offense and stuff like that. So I just made sure I was developing myself as a player because I knew my time would come my sophomore season, and it paid off. So
And when you get to MTSU, I think one thing that is different, because you were obviously one of the best players in the state coming out of high school. And I don't want to say that you fall into a role player, but that's just kind of how MTSU is. And like I said, you're the fourth leading scorer at 12 points per game. And if you were to put yourself into other Conference USA teams' offenses, you would be a perennial power. But you fit in well. And there are nights where, you've had 26-point night games this last season, and you're very capable of that. But there's also situations where you may take the single digit route, but you're getting the rebounds, the assists. How is that like your playing style that with MTSU collectively, it could be your night, or it could be your night to be an assist to someone else?
yeah, that's just how our program is. Like, it doesn't matter who's on. Like, any of our starting five could have a 20-point plus game. So it really, like, I don't know. It really just depends on how the game's going, who's hot, and who we need to keep getting the ball to. Whether I pass it or go make a play.
The one game I really draw to is the Louisiana Tech game, the first time you ever played them, which was with the overtime matchup there in Ruston. And I bring this up because I'm sure, like most athletes, you've got photographic memory. I think back to that game where Jalynn and Savannah just aren't it. Nos is doing her thing down low, but you're 20 points. And I had made the comment when that episode came out after that matchup was that you were the catalyst for a game like that. Is there ever a situation, and I know Matt loves you and we can kind of talk about your dynamic there, but is there ever those conversations in the huddle where it's like, to me, like we've got to have you, you got to kind of take the game over? Because you have situations where I know you kind of take the ball and you have the ability to take a game over.
Yeah, there's been a few games this past season. Like Matt, he's come up to me like, "We need to have you right now. Like, go make a bucket." And after our loss to GCU, we had to like rebuild our whole offense. After that, we put in new plays, and there was a play specifically for me to like go attack the basket. So everyone knows I can get the ball and go make a bucket. And since you brought it up, the La Tech game, that was our first conference game, so I just had to make sure that, I kind of set the standard for the rest of conference. And usually, like, Savannah at that time, she was doing a lot for our team. So I knew I had to step up. And I started the game off hot. So once I start off hot, like, it just keeps going.
So what's it going to take this next year? I mean, you took a big jump, I think, obviously, from just getting the ability to start. But what's next? What does Tamia need to do to take her game to another level?
Honestly, I'm a really confident player as of right now, but I think I want to build that confidence up because I'm in the gym 24/7, working on all these moves and this different stuff, and I want to translate that to my game. Like this summer when I was back in Clarksville, I was playing pickup with some high school guys teams, and I was using all those moves that I like train with, but I don't really translate that to my game. It's either like a three or just taking it all the way to the basket. I want to work on my mid range, and it's a good percentage shot when I'm in the gym doing it. So I just want to like translate that to the game and do it in the game basically, and a lot of that just comes with confidence.
And during the intro, I talk about you being the second highest shooting percentage on the team, and the first goes to Nos, and her being a center. I would even say, and I'm sure you as a guard, that's not necessarily a fair comparison, but amongst the guards, you have a high shooting percentage at 44% clip, and your threes are just under 40%. So you're taking those high percentage shots, as you say. What as far as your game, is it focusing on taking all the, like when you're practicing, we're doing all the shots, or are you focusing more on, as you say, the moves to get to those open shots to make those high percentage opportunities?
Yeah, mostly like the moves. Like when I'm in certain situations, it's like I'll go watch film and it's like, oh, I could have done this. That would have worked better. Or when I have a turnover, I could have done that. So it's just using those moves to, just get me a better shot or to get somebody else a better shot.
And your game in particular, you talk about like you have the opportunities and the turnovers. I know that's kind of an area that I think you would know that you need to improve on and those kind of things. What are things that this upcoming year that you think you've pinpointed as that's got to change if again, to take my game to the next level?
Left hand, that's probably my number one. And with that comes the turnovers, really working on my left hand because a lot of times, like, especially towards the end of the season, coaches were saying, send it right. And, I would still score because, like, sometimes I'm just unstoppable, like, during the game. But it's still a really big flaw in my game. It's just not as strong as my right, which is with most people, but I need to definitely work on it. And also finishing with my left hand, really, like really just my left hand. And me and Matt have been talking on the phone, like as soon as the season ended, we were talking about like what I need to improve, and it was my left hand. So
Tell me about that relationship you have with Matt. I know during the year there was kind of some speculation that, because you're, as we all know, you're a superstar and you're up and coming, and a lot of people speculate that Tamia could go somewhere else because you have that level of ability. But speaking to Matt and about a lot of these girls that are on this team, he's so confident with this group, and he said to many players before that if you leave, you're going to be calling us back, and MTSU is a special place. So what's that dynamic like? Because you kind of have that same and not in a negative way, that ego of like, I'm good and where I belong is where I'm supposed to be, and we can take this to a whole new heights that most people don't think MTSU can get to.
I have a lot of faith in this program and then the people around me, whether it's my teammates or Matt. But I say this all the time. I tell everybody I'm really family oriented. So when I came to middle, that was a really big thing that I wanted, and I feel like all the coaches just carry that. And they just give that off. So me and Matt, like, over these past few years, we've definitely, like, built our relationship up to be family. And And all my coaches are someone I can call on, like, and I know a lot of people say that, but I really mean that. Like, if I'm going through anything or I need something, like, that's probably, like, after my parents, they're probably the ones that pop up in my head to call. So I feel like that speaks a lot on our relationship. Yeah, and he guides me, and I had some doubts this past season and just my confidence of, how far I could take basketball, and he just kept me level headed through it and gave me the confidence that I needed to, keep going.
Do you have aspirations past college? I know that's 2 years now, but like, do you have aspirations past college?
Yeah, I think about it every single day, talk about it every single day with my parents. Overseas or go pro. I mean, I know the WNBA is on the rise right now, so but honestly, overseas, I want to travel and see the world, so that's not bad at all.
Absolutely not. And when you look at some of those, again, as the WNBA, as you say, is growing in popularity, not only by viewership, but hopefully they're talking about expansion and all these big things in the works. And you've played with some players that have had an opportunity. We know Malashka had her opportunity with the Chicago Sky. Dorsar is playing internationally. You've had some international teammates as well. So again, what are kind of some similarities there that you see from what their game that you've kind of taken into your own to see how your game grow?
Mm-hmm. Since I had so much time my freshman year to just sit back and watch, Ksenia's game really spoke out to me, and how prominent she could be during some of our games, and also I learned from a lot of her mistakes too. Just how her attitude towards things, and I learned from that. And Matt made sure that everyone on the team learned from some of her mistakes, but specifically a lot of the stuff that she did to get better. She was always in the gym, which that's something I'm always in the gym too. But it just showed me if I want to get to where I go, I have to keep that up. Because she kept it up all 5 years of college. So.
Tell me about your roster makeup. You got Courtney, who's coming back. You played with your freshman year. That's got to be exciting for you guys.
Yeah.
I always told Matt, I feel like her similarities as far as running the offense, like Savannah, she's very quick. She's got an eye for the open ball player. So the excitement of her, Alina, you had to play against her. She's another talent that you're going to have at the 4 spot. So tell me a little bit about your excitement about the roster and what Raider fans should expect this next year.
I'm really excited. Everyone's like, how are you guys going to be this season? You got a lot to live up to. And I honestly think we could be even better than we were last year. This program keeps growing. My freshman year, we were really, really good. And a lot of people doubted how good we could be this year. And look how good we did. So I think we could be even better. Courtney, she's a really good facilitator. And I think we need that. This season, we kind of struggled getting the ball back to whoever was hot, if we made shots and stuff like that. So she sees the floor really well. She's so fast. And then with Alina, we could not stop her when we played her my freshman year. I remember I was like, oh my gosh, and I watched some of her highlights from Texas Tech, and she's improved a lot more. So I'm really excited to just get in the gym and just see everybody's talent.
Tell me too about what you got coming up for the rest of the summer. I know you say you're in the gym every day. Do you have any sort of vacations? Is there any time off for Tamia?
Yeah, there is. We had all of May off, so a lot of that time I went to Miami in April, and then me and my friends are probably going to go to Atlanta one of these weekends. In August, I'm thinking of going out of the country with my sister, but as of right now, we start team workouts on Monday, so after that, it's going to be go and no stopping. So, I mean, I'll use the weekends as good as I can, and maybe go back home and just hang out with friends and family.
Does that kind of fill that void? Because I know when you're going through the high school ranks, you're playing AAU ball every single weekend, and it's nonstop ball. And then when you get to college, you're at your place. There's not AAU weekend teams. So does that kind of, I say, fill that cup, if you will?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's not the same, but it fills a little bit of it.
Excellent. Well, Tamia, I appreciate you coming on. Before we have our parting ways here, what are kind of some of your expectations for this upcoming year that we should all look forward to?
I don't really know. I don't like to really talk too much. I just want y'all to see, but just know that I'm going to get a lot better, and it's going to be last year times 2.
Should we expect 19-0? I love that level of confidence, because it's hard to commit to those kind of things. But as we've all said here, the team is good, if not better than last year's team. So is that another reasonable expectation you set for yourself? And as Matt has said, that's kind of a standard for you guys now.
Yeah, it is. And, all 5 starters got all conference. I think we can do that again with the people that we have, and get to the second round, beat Ellis or whoever we play, and keep going further than we did.
Excellent, Timmy. Well, I appreciate you coming on. And again, we look forward to your upcoming season.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Our final guest in our Lady Raiders edition of the 2024 BRP Summer Series was most recently named to her second consecutive All-CUSA second team and 2023 Conference USA Tournament MVP. Mostly known for her own, not only for her three-point shooting, but her range. Hailing from Lafayette, Tennessee, is senior guard Jalynn Gregory. Jalynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's settle the important stuff right now. Is it Lafayette or is it Lafayette?
We say Lafayette.com.
Lafayette, okay. I know, like, those that are MTSU fans, we used to play Louisiana Lafayette back in years in the Sun Belt Conference years. So Lafayette, Tennessee, well, you're from Macon County High School, correct?
Yes.
So I ask you that question because it's kind of come up in discussion this year. We're bringing in Savannah Davis, the only freshman signee this upcoming year. Tell me a little bit. I'm interested to know about your recruiting process, because I think a lot of us would describe you as a hidden gem. You obviously, the cat's out of the bag. You're a superstar here in Murfreesboro. So tell me a little bit about your recruiting process coming to MTSU.
Well, so it's actually a weird kind of situation. So I was originally committed to a different school.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that during COVID, and then, or no, I did that before COVID. So I did it early on in my high school career. And then when COVID hit, I kind of was like, oh, I think I want to be closer to home. I don't think I'm going to be able to go like so many hours away. And I just decided that it wasn't the best fit for me. And so I ended up decommitting. And then as soon as MTSU found out that I decommitted, they called me immediately. And I just knew when they called me that that's where I wanted to go.
Where were you originally committed to?
UT Martin.
UT Martin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever look back on that and think, wow, what a decision, and how things happen like that?
Yeah. I just look at the whole like different situations and stuff, and not being able to have my family come to a lot of stuff would have really been hard. And going here really like not only like the culture and the family that I've also gotten from basketball and the fan wise, but I also get to have my actual family there too.
And family is kind of a big aspect of the Lady Raiders program. I've talked to Matt earlier in this episode, and he obviously has a big emphasis on the family side of things. And in my understanding, what's the relation with you and the young girl that you hold hands with when you enter the tunnel after every game?
We're just like best friends.
Mm-hmm.
She'll sit with me on the bus and everything when she comes, and she loves to stretch with all of us. And I babysit them some, her and her brother Clark. So it's just, I love being around kids, and she's just kind of taken up with me.
Yeah, Evie's taken the world by storm. I've talked to Tamia about, or Matt was talking about some NIL opportunities and stuff like that, and it's blown up for her especially. But I'm interested too on you. I know that NIL is something that's kind of grown over the years, but for you especially, again, the superstar nature of your game just kind of it shines bright. So tell me, like, how those opportunities have been afforded to you at MTSU per se, if you were to go to a school like Martin or anything like that.
Yeah, I feel like here, where it's such like a family community, it brings in like various like interactions between like fans that obviously like own businesses around MTSU. And so just being able to like connect with them kind of builds that relationship. So it's not just like oh, I'm going to give you money, like you're going to do this. It's actually like a relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're building something with them that's not just going to be like, oh, while you're here, that's it. They're going to be people like that help you further on in life. And that's one of the big things about like with my NILs that I have gotten. These people are always constantly talking about like, this isn't just like a business deal. Like if you ever need anything, you let us know and we'll be happy to help you. And they've also talked to me about some of my other teammates, like giving them opportunities after college and stuff if they didn't know really what path they were going to take and stuff. And so that also allows not only for it to benefit me, but it kind of benefits my teammates too.
Excellent. Well, that's interesting stuff. I mean, is that kind of something that when you obviously NIL wasn't a thing when you had committed to MTSU? Is that kind of something that you again have felt really afforded by being here in Murfreesboro now?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing that I see with the NIL. It's like a good and a bad thing. I can
Hmm.
see where it can be like harmful for some places and then beneficial for others. And I feel like here we've tried to stay more on the beneficial side, and we're not letting it get in between each player and everything. We just kind of like, we're a team, and that isn't going to stop that.
Yeah, that's always an interesting dynamic, especially on smaller rosters like basketball is. But I'm interested to know about your summer now. Like when I was trying to get you scheduled here, you're telling me you have classes going on, and my understanding is you got your bachelor's this after this last spring semester. Is that right? You're working towards
So,
masters.
yeah, so I have two more classes this summer that I
Okay.
have to take. So I'll graduate in August, and then I'll start my master's last year.
Okay. What are you studying?
Psychology is what
Okay.
I'm getting my degree in, and then I'm just doing like leadership, professional leadership is what I'm going to get my master's in.
I feel like head coaching is something that like rings a bell when you list all those things. Is that something that kind of interests you, or where's your head going with that?
It has been an opportunity that I've considered, and will be staying around after my senior year. After this next year, I'll be GAing. So I'll be a
Okay.
GA. So I'll still be around, and that's kind of going to be where I decide whether or not I want to go into coaching or if I want to take the other side of it. I feel like that's going to kind of like get my foot in the door a little bit and allow me to be able to see like if this is what I actually want to do.
As far as the coaching aspect, like, or do you like kind of the X and O's? I know you talk about family, and I know the relationship that you have with Courtney Whitson and Savannah Wheeler. So is that kind of is that the aspect? Do you like the recruiting side of things? Do you like the coaching, the X and O's? Like, where's kind of the draw for you as far as coaching goes?
Yeah, I like all of that. And I think I would enjoy, like, I've been around basketball my whole life. So it's just something that I've obviously loved to do. And where I've been around it so long, and like, when I was a kid, even too, that I've just kind of like grasped, like, more knowledge about basketball. And then obviously just learning from like Coach Rick and just listening to Coach Matt and stuff. And so I enjoy all that. I mean, I hear about the recruiting side of it and I know what it is like for a player, but I don't necessarily know what it's like from a coach's standpoint. And so
Hmm.
I think that's another part that I'm going to be able to see if I like or not. And I think I will, but it's always one of those situations where you're not always sure.
Sure, absolutely. Once you get your feet wet, you kind of have a realization of whether it's
Hmm.
for you or not. I talked to Tamia too about her summers, and you're much like her. You were on the AAU trail for a lot when you were in high school. What do you feel your time? I know you've been here for 3 years now, and you've been at the college level for some time. But how do you feel your time over the summer now that you're not playing basketball 5 and 7 days a week?
Yeah, it's still kind of like very busy just with the schedule because like we only really get May off. We get a little bit of time in August, but May's really our only time off like we get at home. But we also like that's not technically really a break. Like you're obviously still having to shoot and still having to do things. So when you do come back, like you're still ready to go. And so it's still a lot to do, but it just kind of takes out playing games. But sometimes you always got to work on those fundamentals.
Yeah, the saying, I was a baseball player, and the saying was you always had optional winter conditioning, and optional is kind of a funny word because it's not that optional, right?
Yeah,
As I'm
it's
sure you
not
can imagine.
optional.
All right, right. So one thing we talk about that you have a break per se, but one thing that everyone always brings up when they talk about the Lady Raiders is the amount of playing time, and you're one of those people. You started all 35 games this last year. You play a ton of minutes. You've had many games where you play 40 minutes. I mean, what are you doing in regards to your conditioning and obviously the amount of shots that you take? That puts a lot of wear on the body. So what are you doing in this time to one prepare yourself for the next year, but also recover from the previous season?
Yeah, so after season, we get like 2 weeks off. And that's really where I just completely, like, I almost erase basketball from
Mhm.
from what me actually doing anything. Like, of course, I'm still watching like everything else. Like, if there's games still on or something, like, obviously the tournament was still going on. So I was still watching games. But those 2 weeks, I let my body rest. And then in May, it's kind of like a lighter situation. Like I kind of start slowly getting back into it. So I won't necessarily like beat myself to death, but I will at least still keep my like rhythm going. And then now, of course, when we're in June and July, we're like full speed. Like we're going back to conditioning and everything. And it's just once again kind of like during season, it's a harder time, but by now my body's kind of like it's rested up and it's ready
Mhm.
back to like get back going.
Absolutely. Well, and those 2 weeks, what are you doing to fill your cup, if you will? What are things that you really enjoy?
Um, I read, so
Okay.
I love reading books. So I'll read, study my Bible, kind of just like lay around and like just do things like usually it's getting a little bit warmer. So if I can go sit by the pool, I'll go do that and just all that stuff.
So are you about? I know you mentioned you're watching games when you're not playing too. Are you about this new WNBA craze and the Caitlin Clark of it all?
I think I like Caitlin Clark. I just think she's obviously got a bunch of on her plate. She, of course,
Hmm.
went to Indiana Fever, so it's like not the best team to be put on. And I know she's probably feeling a lot of pressure. Like, I know, like, from just playing basketball, like, you can tell that she probably has a lot of pressure put on her. But I am a big fan of hers. I do like her, obviously, because I mean, she's a shooter, so and she's one of the best that we've ever seen. So it's just somebody like you got to obviously look up to, kind of.
Yeah, I draw that parallel there because she kind of has the logo three shot that always impresses a lot of people, and you yourself are not afraid to pull that trigger. So I'm interested to know where that mentality comes from. Like, is it I'm always open, and if there's not a hand up, a hand down, man down, right? Is that kind of the mentality you carry?
Yeah, and it kind of is just because also like my coaches don't put that restriction on me. They're telling me like if I don't shoot the ball, I'm going to be getting yelled at or I'm going to be getting taken out because they say even if I'm missing, like if I'm having an off night and I quit shooting, that's when they're going to take me out. They're not going to take me out because I'm missing shots. They're just going to take me out if I choose not to take those shots because it's hurting my team.
Right. And one thing that's really impressive is your volume of shots continue to grow. Your made three pointers continue to grow. And the shooting percentage is just under a hair of 36%, which is exceptional for the volume that you shoot at. What does it take? Because I know that there are times where you go in slumps. Like I know this last season, the season kind of started slower than you would have liked, but when conference
Yeah.
picked up, you found your stroke, especially there at the end. Tell me, like, how are you working through? What's the process of working through that?
It's just kind of like a mental thing. I have my coaches like behind me, like telling me, like, yes, like we know you can make it. Like you've got to believe in yourself. And just knowing, like, I just have to think back to all the times I've spent in the gym, like shooting. Like I know I put the time in and I know I can make these shots, but it's also one of those things of where our coaches hold us accountable. Like when I was going through that dry spell and I wasn't shooting very good at all, it was one of those things of where, hey, they pull me into their office and we kind of have like a little reality check. Like,
Mhm.
hey, you're not shooting good. I know you know that, but it needs to be like said out loud just so it's like reality. Like, we got to figure out what's going on. We got to fix it. Like, do you need our help? Can you do it yourself? Like, it's just kind of one of those things of where the coaches really do help, like with getting out of that little slump.
It sounds like too it's not necessarily a mechanics thing because you've always kind of like you said you put the hours in, you fall on those mechanics. Is it ever kind of a confidence, or sometimes teams scout you real well?
Yeah. So teams do obviously have learned to scout me.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those things of where I've got to take the stuff that I've worked on in the summer and just know that I can do it. And so I feel like it more comes from like a confidence and like mental standpoint of
Mhm.
it rather than like the way the team guards me.
The team dynamic changed a little bit when the season ended this year. You're losing Savannah Wheeler. I think before we got the news of the transfer portal, I think a lot of eyes turned that Jada might be the point guard. Jalynn yourself might even get some reps at point guard because we know that you've done that, especially in games where Savannah was out. But now you're getting Courtney, and that's always a good thing because she knows how to man the point guard position. Jada Harrison, her time is certainly coming, and that's exciting news. But what was kind of your reaction when you heard that Courtney was coming back?
It was very exciting. Of course, like I didn't want Cab to leave in the beginning.
Hmm.
Like I was friends with her and I loved having her as a point guard. And so I hated to see her go. And so having her back is just really great because I know how the team mixes with her.
Hmm.
Like we have good chemistry with her. She's a good person, like on the court and off the court. And so I knew it was a good mix and we really needed another point guard. Like not saying like Jada Harrison will be able to see, and I believe that she can run the point guard. So I think both of them will have a good chance of like obviously they're gonna determine that themselves when they start playing. But I think it's just having both of them and being able to keep me from having to run the point is a better like position putting us in. Just because my strong suit is obviously not the one position, I'm more
Hmm.
of a two. And so just being able to keep me out of that and keep them where they feel more comfortable just works a lot better for us.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there. My question was like, are you comfortable now that you feel like you can actually play your true position as shooting guard? We know you're not just a one-trick pony. We've seen you able to dribble, drive, and get to the hoop. And obviously, your run sets that open up the point guard position. But do you feel that there was a lot of pressure taken off of you when she returned?
Yeah, I do feel like it's a lot that I don't have to really worry about it. Like, yes, there may be times where I might get thrown back in there at times because you never know what will happen. You always have to expect to be thrown in unexpected things. But yeah, I feel like it does take pressure off of me just being able to play in a position that I'm more comfortable playing.
So now we're moving into this next year. We've talked about team scouting. What are kind of some things that you're looking to do in this offseason to better not only your to improve on the areas that need improving on, but as well as the team collectively? What are kind of some expectations you're setting for yourself as well as your team?
One big thing is just taking my new role of being more of a leader. So, of course, we lost Courtney in the leadership position, and so that's kind of a role that needs to be filled. So that's one thing that I've got to take on is being more of a leader and being vocal and everything. And then for me, like just personally, like basketball wise, just kind of like working more on getting to the rim and being able to finish and using my jump shot. Because obviously people are starting to come out more and it gets more difficult for me to take like threes that I've had taken in the past. And so it's just being able to open up that next level even more.
Do you expect to be face guarded a lot more this upcoming year? I mean, the word's already out, but now, like especially with you being a key contributor at the 3-point line, is that an expectation you have as far as team's defense?
Honestly, I don't think a team would be very smart to honestly just face guard because it's not. If you face guard me, you take away a help side or you take away like that defender helping on our other players. And it's not just like, yes, I may be a key part to the team, but we also have a bunch of other key parts like Nos, and then we'll have Cab and we'll have Jada Harrison. And then, of course, Tamia. Like, Tamia stepped up big time last year. And so this year, I expect her to step up even more, which is going to be hard to guard when you got two guards that can play. And then you also have your, our transfer, Alina Enrique her coming in and stuff. And so it's just, I feel like it would be stupid for a team to just straight up face guard just because of you're taking away a help side.
What's your excitement around Alina? It's probably great now that she's in blue and not on the other side.
Yes, I'm super excited to have her here. We haven't practiced yet, of course, so we haven't like played together or practiced together or anything, but I've obviously talked to her a lot. I was her host when she came on her visit and I've talked to her since she's got here and stuff. And so I'm really excited to see her. Like I know what she can do because I seen it when she was at UTEP. I played against it and know she was like a key thing that we focused on when we played them. So I'm super excited to have her in blue and white this year.
Excellent stuff. Well, Jalynn, I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy summer to do this for you. Of course, good luck this upcoming year. And one last thing before we go, are you ready? Are you feel slighted that you keep getting that second team Conference USA finish? Do you think it's time we start pushing for that first team and that Player of the Year award?
I mean, yes, that's obviously like something that I kind of expect out of myself, but it honestly kind of gives me more of a drive just to do even better for my team. I'm not a big person that's on individual awards. I'm more worried about like getting that conference championship and winning more games in the NCAA tournament. Like I'm more focused on that, but obviously like it's another thing that drives me to just like get better.
Well, I know you're too humble, but I'll call it now. I think that if you're not preseason Player of the Year and by the end of the year, Player of the Year, I think it'll be a robbery. So, again, excited for what you bring to the table for this upcoming year, this upcoming season. I'm excited for this team. Jalynn, I appreciate you once again.
Thank you.